if the fight will be one of those three that I just mentioned.
It's one of those three.
Oh, okay.
I like it. It's
Okay.
one of those three.
Oh,
One
three.
thing about Vergil Ortiz, he will fight anybody.
Yeah.
He's ready. He's on that level. I strongly feel that the names you just mentioned are viable opponents for Vergil Ortiz to make great fights and to see who's the best. And obviously, when you sign up for this sport, you sign up to be a world champion. You sign up to be the best, and that's exactly what Vergil wants.
Oscar de la Hoya has officially announced what fans have been waiting for. Vergil Ortiz will fight Terence Crawford in a fight that everyone is looking forward to. Boxing fans are excited about this news because Ortiz is now ready to fight one of the sport's all-time pound-for-pound greats. Now the stage is set for an epic fight between a hungry young competitor and a master of battle. When Ortiz thought about the chance to fight Crawford, he talked about what it was like to take on one of the best fighters in the world. It was clear that his goals come from a deep respect for his opponents and a wish to get better. What he said: "Yeah, so look, I love testing myself. You know, when I say I want to fight someone, it's not that I don't like them or anything, it's like I respect them as a fighter. You know, I'm not going to go and call out some guy that's 2 wins and 13 losses. You know, that doesn't do me any good." This quote shows how driven Ortiz is and how he doesn't want to take the easy way out. The fact that he respects Crawford as a boxer shows how professional and polite he is. He then talked about why he wants to fight Crawford in particular, stressing his desire to show what he can do against the best boxer in the world. What he said: "So I want to fight the best. You know, I believe Crawford is top 2 or 3 pound for pound in the world, and I would love to test myself against someone like that. You know, I just want to test my ability." Even though the news caused a lot of excitement, Ortiz said that talks were still going on and that he didn't know much about his opponent. He stated his readiness for the February fight regardless of who ends up across the ring. His statement reflects Ortiz's clear focus and no-nonsense attitude. He's not letting the uncertainty of negotiations distract him from his preparation, maintaining the mindset of a fighter ready to give his best.
Yeah, I mean, so as far as I know that I'm reading on the internet is that there's negotiations are being made at this moment. It could be in February. That's when I'm gonna fight. If it's him or not, I'm fighting in February. You know, I really don't know who it's gonna be against. Yeah, I think I'm gonna fight here in February. So regardless of who it is, it's gonna be here. It could be him. It could not be. As I can't really tell you. You know, they don't ask me who I want to fight. You know, they just, if they want to take it, then we'll take it. But like I said, I don't care who I fight.
Ortiz expanded further, showing cautious optimism while balancing hope with realism as he awaits final confirmation. What he said: "Yeah, we are in due time. We will be able to say who it is. I don't want to say something and get disappointed, but I think we are on the right track, getting into a good fight next month." This measured reaction highlights Ortiz's maturity in handling the business side of the sport. His patience and professionalism show that he's not just ready for the fight, but also for the spotlight that comes with it. Ortiz further voiced his cautious optimism about the ongoing talks, while he refrained from making any definitive statements. He hinted that progress is being made. His balanced approach of patience and positivity shows the mindset of a fighter who knows the intricacies of the business side of boxing. Ortiz's professionalism continues to shine as he stays focused on the bigger picture.
You had all the big names in there: Sebastian Fundora, Terence Crawford, Jaron Ennis. Are we any further afield? Oscar Smiles, are we any further afield with that shortlist?
Yeah, we are. Of course, in due time, we'll be able to say who it is. I don't want to say something and get disappointed, but I think we're on a good track on getting a good fight.
Terence Crawford, known for his dominance in the welterweight division, also shared his thoughts on Vergil Ortiz. He acknowledged Ortiz's ability and his emergence as one of the top fighters in the division.
Mention Ortiz, Vergil Ortiz. How far is he away? How close is he to a title shot in sharing the ring with Bud Crawford?
I don't know. But Vergil, you know, he's right there. You know, he's right there. You know, he's been proven that he belongs with the top fighters in the division. And, you know, who knows? A couple of fights or next fight or whatever the case may be, he might be sharing the ring with Terence Crawford. You never know.
Crawford's remarks show his recognition of Ortiz as a worthy challenger, while he stopped short of confirming their matchup directly. His comments show respect for Ortiz's capabilities and his growing position among boxing's elite. Crawford's acknowledgement adds another layer of excitement to the possible clash as fans eagerly await confirmation of one of the most anticipated fights in recent years. Meanwhile, Oscar de la Hoya spoke about the significance of the matchup, showing admiration for Crawford's achievements while building anticipation for what he thinks will be a monumental fight with Ortiz. What he said, "Yeah, no, I'm Crawford. I love him because he's probably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. His style is fan-friendly. He's a tremendous boxer, undefeated." De La Hoya also praised Crawford's skill and legacy, showing why he is regarded as one of the top fighters in boxing. His undefeated record and crowd-pleasing style set him apart as a truly special talent in the sport, he stated. "You know, he went up a weight class, and he met up with a guy who was really tough. Sometimes you're not going to look as good as you did in your previous fights, you know, fighting smaller guys, and it's okay. It's a learning process." He has to establish himself at 154. He recognized the challenges Crawford faced in adjusting to higher weight classes and tougher opponents. De La Hoya emphasized that such hurdles are part of a boxer's journey and further show Crawford's resilience and adaptability. De La Hoya also predicted the fight's timing and its potential to be a blockbuster event by framing it as a super fight. He raised hopes for what could be one of boxing's most exciting matchups in recent years. Ortiz also shared his thoughts on his next fight, highlighting his readiness to face any opponent while also reflecting on his desire to create memorable fights for fans.
Probably fought the toughest guy. Not the most dangerous guy, but the toughest guy. But I think that Crawford and Vergil Ortiz next year, first quarter, will be a super fight.
He stated, "I mean, you know, it's really, I don't know what fight would be next. You know, we do have a few names lined up, and that's part of the reason why I'm here to actually talk business and see who we're going to have lined up." Ortiz explained that the next steps in his career are still being planned, and while acknowledging the uncertainty of his next opponent, he expressed his participation in discussions to shape his future matchups. What he said, "But I mean, I'm ready for any of those fights. You know, I'm always down for a great fight. I love it when fans come up to me and say, 'Man, I loved your fight. It was so exciting. You know, I get a kick out of that.'" He emphasized his readiness and enthusiasm for providing thrilling fights for Ortiz. The joy of boxing is tied to the excitement it brings to fans and the pride he takes in being part of memorable bouts. He stated, "You know, it's like, yeah, I did that, so I take pride in that, you know, to be a part of fights that people will enjoy for years to come. Yeah, it's just awesome." Ortiz reflected on his love for creating moments that fans cherish. His commitment to being a fighter who entertains while achieving greatness sets him apart as a standout personality in the sport. Ortiz also discussed his openness to facing either Jaron Ennis or Terence Crawford, showing his ambition and focus on proving himself as one of the sport's best. He stated, "I mean, honestly, both. I mean, I want them both. I really do. I think those are some great fights to be made." Ortiz made it clear that he is ready to face either Ennis or Crawford, recognizing the significance of both matchups. His eagerness to take on challenging fights underscores his ambition to compete at the top level, he stated, "And like I said, you know, I don't want to fight people because I have beef with them. You know, I think they're good fighters, and I would like to prove myself." He clarified that his motivations are not based in rivalry, but in respect for his opponents. Ortiz's goal is on proving himself against the best, showing maturity and professionalism in his approach. He stated, "And I know the fans want those fights, you know, so it kind of makes me that much more motivated and excited to be in those kinds of fights." Ortiz acknowledged the excitement these potential bouts bring to fans and how that fuels his own motivation. His passion for delivering thrilling fights further cements his role as one of the most exciting contenders in boxing today, as the announcement of Vergil Ortiz versus Terence Crawford continues to generate buzz. Boxing professionals and experts have started weighing in on the implications of this high-stakes fight, from the potential risks and rewards to the impact on the sports landscape. Their insights add depth to the conversation. One such voice is Paulie Malignaggi, known for his sharp insights and candid opinions, who weighed in on the possible matchup between Vergil Ortiz and Terence Crawford. He gave a critical view on the risks, implications, and narratives surrounding this highly anticipated bout. Malignaggi addressed the business dynamics of this fight, highlighting the risks for Golden Boy Promotions if Ortiz were to lose and Crawford walked away with all the momentum.
Because Crawford doesn't belong to Golden Boy, so if Crawford does beat Vergil, then you end up just keeping your defeated fighter. Take all the momentum is lost, and Crawford will leave with all the momentum he's taken with him. Usually, you're gonna want some kind of option, or at least if you're gonna take that kind of a risk fight. Listen, enough money is there, the fights will get made. We've seen that with Turkey Al.
This comment highlights the delicate balance in boxing promotions, where a loss can have major repercussions for a fighter's career and the promotion's future plans. Paulie Malignaggi's analysis underscores the stakes for Ortiz and Golden Boy promotions in this fight, shifting his focus. Malignaggi critiqued the trend of framing challenging matchups as tune-up fights and stressed the importance of keeping authenticity in promoting fights. He stated, "Listen, enough money is there. The fights will get made. We've seen that with Turki Alalshik. I will say this about Turki Alalshik, all due respect here, okay, because I've given criticism and I've given praise when it's necessary." He further continued and stated, "With all due respect, you are not making tune-up fights, okay? Stop talking like you're making tune-up fights because this is." Malignaggi calls out the industry practice of diminishing the importance of certain fights by labeling them as tune-ups. His comments highlight the need for transparency and respect for the fighters stepping into the ring. Malignaggi also pointed out past instances where premature plans for high-profile fights undermined immediate matchups, often leading to disastrous results. He stated, "He's constantly done this before. He did it with AJ and Wilder, where he was planning that fight all while Wilder and John were getting ready to fight. He actually stepped on his own card, where that was the main event, and made it like he was going to make AJ and Wilder completely disrespect John, and then John knocked out Wilder, so that fight imploded." This example serves as a cautionary tale about the unpredictability of boxing and the potential effects of overlooking current opponents in favor of future plans. Malignaggi also criticized the premature framing of Vergil Ortiz as Crawford's next opponent, raising worries about sidelining other credible matchups. He stated, "He did it again before this fight. Here he started making it like Vergil Ortiz was next for Crawford when Canelo was out the door and wasn't rude to him. All of a sudden you're treating Bohachek like he's a tune-up." Malignaggi pointed out how this method disrespects fighters, framing them as lesser opponents. His comments underlined the importance of recognizing the value of every matchup and the danger of dismissing skilled boxers as tune-ups. He continued to stress the importance of keeping consistency and fairness in promoting fights while acknowledging the quality of recent matchups. He stated, "Either you want to make great fights, and you make great fights, and we love the great fights Turkey is making. I am all for them, and I think all of boxing. I speak for all of boxing when I say keep them coming." Malignaggi praised the competitive matchups being made, but urged for a balanced approach that respects all fighters in the ring. His perspective highlights the need for boxing to focus on fairness alongside delivering excitement. For fans, he also emphasized the risks in boxing and cautioned against overconfidence in scripting results, particularly when matchups are so evenly balanced. He stated, "But stop talking like they're tune-up fights, stop planning. You can't script this, especially when you're making very even matchups. You've seen yourself that there's a lot of upsets in the making." He voiced his disappointment and stated, "All right, this fight was almost an upset. It could have been an upset, and the spineless boxing media that never stops to surprise me."
What were they doing right away? Just because Turkey was saying Crawford next, as soon as the fight's over, how many headlines did you see? Ortiz wins, eyes Crawford next.
All of
Ortiz wins, eyes. They are spineless. They have no backbone, no morals. They will kiss anybody's ass just to keep the momentum going. They've always been spineless. I've noticed it my whole career, and even after my career, they continue to be spineless. That was disgusting. Nobody clamoring in the media for a rematch where half the population thinks Bohachuk won. This was a fight of the year candidate. Bohachuk versus Ortiz rematch will be a better fight than Ortiz versus Crawford anyway. Ortiz versus Crawford, it's interesting. There's no way it's going to entertain the way Bohachuk and Ortiz just entertained and would entertain again. The fight to make, the future to make, the fight is Bohachuk and Ortiz and Bohachuk 2. Ortiz and Bohachuk 2. That's the fight to make.
Malignaggi advocated for a rematch between Ortiz and Bohachuk, suggesting it might offer more excitement than Ortiz versus Crawford. He stated, "And even after my career, they continued to be spineless. That was disgusting. Nobody was clamoring in the media for a rematch, or half the population thinks Bohachuk won. This was a fight of the year candidate." He further continued and highlighted the importance of the rematch, declaring it a better match, and stated Bohachuk versus Ortiz rematch would be a better fight than Ortiz versus Crawford anyway. Crawford is interesting, but there's no way it's going to entertain the way Bohachuk and Ortiz entertain, and would entertain again. He emphasized the potential of a rematch and challenged the assumption that Ortiz versus Crawford is the most compelling fight on the horizon. He doubles down on his opinion that Ortiz versus Bohachuk is the fight to make next rather than Ortiz versus Crawford. He stated the fight to make, the coming fight to make, is Bohachuk and Ortiz and Bohachuk 2. That's the fight to make next. This remark underscores his belief in the entertainment value and competitive potential of a rematch, saying it may better serve fans and the sport. Meanwhile, Timothy Bradley also shared his thoughts on Ortiz's mindset, his growth as a fighter, and the practical considerations behind picking the next opponent. He stated, "Well, what would be my option? Follow the money. That's what every fighter's choice is going to be. Follow the money where you're going to get the most money." Bradley began by acknowledging the financial side of boxing, pointing out that fighters often prioritize lucrative chances. This pragmatic method shapes much of the decision-making in the sport.
This about Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz says, I've watched him in the past do interviews about Terence Crawford. He feels that no one can beat him. I mean, just with him saying that, I don't even think that he believes that he can beat Terence Crawford.
He questioned Ortiz's confidence in taking on Crawford, saying that while Ortiz has a strong self-belief, facing Crawford might reveal limits he hasn't yet encountered. Bradley suggested that Ortiz still had growth ahead before tackling such a formidable opponent, and he stated Ortiz did a damn good job. Ortiz actually showed me and checked a lot of the things that I had questions about. What happens when he goes down? Can he stay concentrated? What is the training like on the back end of fights? I have all these questions, and he checked all the boxes, guys. He did. He's a great fighter. Bradley praised Ortiz's performance and resilience, but he also stressed the need for further development before meeting someone of Crawford's caliber. He suggested a fight with Bohacek as a more suitable next step. Bradley expanded further on his belief that Ortiz's next move should be a rematch with Bohacek, citing the close nature of their last fight and the financial realities of the sport. He reflected on the intensity of the fight, saying he fought as hard as he could to the end. He got the decision. However, many of us that were watching felt that Bohacek won the fight, so what would I do? Run it back? That's what I would do. Bradley highlighted the controversial outcome and the merit of giving Bohacek another shot in what could be a highly anticipated rematch. However, Bradley acknowledged the financial pull of a potential fight with Terence Crawford. He stated, "Fighters, they're going to follow the money. If a Terence Crawford fight was to materialize for Vergil Ortiz, he will not pass it up. And I don't blame him. You want to know why? Because the money is to damn good, guys, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day." While he pushed for a rematch with Bohacek, Bradley recognized the economic realities of boxing, suggesting that the Crawford fight might overshadow other considerations. Meanwhile, Chris O'Leary focused on the business side of Ortiz versus Crawford, questioning whether it is truly the most logical next step for Ortiz. He stated, "Well, I mean, let's ask that question. Is it the obvious next step? Just because Turkey said it doesn't necessarily mean it is so. If you speak to Oscar de la Hoya, the promoter of Vergil Ortiz, he was not talking about fighting Terence Crawford next." Algery pointed out that de la Hoya had previously discussed other potential matchups like Tim Chu, indicating that Crawford might not have been Ortiz's immediate target. He stated Vergil Ortiz is probably coming up on being the next biggest star in the division behind Terence Crawford himself. So it does make sense in terms of that, but you've got to see what Ortiz and his team want to do. He just had a very tough fight that many people actually thought he lost. He highlighted Ortiz's rising stardom, but acknowledged the controversy surrounding his last fight, which might influence decisions about his next step. Algery suggested that Ortiz may need to regroup before jumping into a high-stakes fight. Algery stressed the unpredictable nature of boxing talks, hinting that Ortiz's path might diverge from public expectations.
At the end of the day, this is business. It's not always the fights that seem the most obvious that get made. So I'm curious to see where this goes in the future. But like I said, De La Hoya was looking elsewhere before Turki Al-Sheikh had brought up the Crawford fight.
Teddy Atlas also shared his admiration for Ortiz's promise, while urging caution in matching him against top-tier opponents like Crawford too soon. He stated, "I like him a lot. I like him after the fight, the way he conducts himself, the way he talks. He's intelligent, he's a gentleman, he's humble." Atlas praised Ortiz's personality and professionalism, noting that these traits complement his in-ring abilities and make him a promising figure in the sport. "I like the way he fights. I like the way he's developing. That's the key word, developing. Let him continue developing. He's young. Let him keep growing. Let him keep getting better. Keep him away from Crawford. Keep him away from those guys you just mentioned. And there's no need to go there right now." He emphasized the importance of allowing Ortiz to mature as a fighter, suggesting that a fight against Crawford or other top-tier opponents might come too soon in Ortiz's career. "Those guys are special. That would be like back in the 80s saying keep someone away from Ray Leonard or Tommy Hearns or Roberto Duran. No knock on him. Those guys are special. Keep him away. He's not ready yet." Atlas drew comparisons to legends of the past to show the skill gap Ortiz might face Crawford. His comments mirrored a protective approach to Ortiz's career, advocating for patience over rushing into high-risk matchups. As the debate around Vergil Ortiz's next steps continues, the fighter himself has stayed steadfast in his ambition. Ortiz expressed his desire to face Terence Crawford, whom he sees as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Ortiz also expressed respect for Crawford but also stressed his belief in his own ability to beat him, framing the possible matchup as a personal test of his skills and determination.
Who are 5 fighters that you would like to fight coming up?
So we got Timzu, we got Crawford, Spence, or I guess you can say the winner of Spence or Fundora. Charlo's a good one. Who else we got at 54?
You want to fight Terence Crawford right now?
I would love to fight him, man. I think he's like probably the #1 pound for pound fighter right now.
Do you think he's out of his peak?
No.
Or is he in his peak now?
I think he's in his peak.
And you're saying you could beat a peak prime Terence Crawford?
I'm saying I believe that I can.
I respect it 100%.
I believe that I can. No, I respect him as a fighter though. That's the thing. When I want to fight people, it doesn't mean that, oh, I don't like you. Like, let's get it on. It's more like I respect your skills and I want to see if I can beat you.
What do you think? Can Vergil Ortiz rise to the challenge and dethrone one of the best fighters of this era? Share your ideas in the comments, and don't forget to tune in for more updates and videos like this.